So let's talk a little bit about when to split your stories. So some of you guys are writing user stories and it's like huge story. And then when you get to your sprint planning or your grooming sessions, then there's all these questions back and forth. And, if you have a seasoned dev team that's willing to be vocal, they will tell you that your story is too large. But sometimes you have teams that are offshore and they're not as vocal and they feel like you give them something to do, they have to do it. And they don't really push back on you. They just try to figure it out. Then they'll just suck it up and try to do it. But it's going to eventually become a problem if you keep doing that. So as the BA, you need to have a good sense for when the story is too large and knowing when to split the story, right? So if you're writing the story and you just have a sense that, I don't know, this looks kind of big. I don't really know where to split it. Then when you're doing your refinement and your backlog refinement, ask your team. Say, hey guys, I'm writing this story. This is what it's about. I've included this and this and this and this functionality, but I think it's a little bit large and I don't know if it can be done in one sprint. So help me out here. Where do you think would be a good place for us to split? Just say that. Ask. The team is there to help you. Remember, you don't have to know everything to be the BA. You don't have to have all the solutions and all the answers. It's okay to make a stab at it and then ask the team to help you refine it. More than putting this huge story in the sprint and then it just keeps carrying forward, spilling over. And typically we don't repoint stories that spill over. So now you have this, let's say the story was 13 points. Now you have a 13-point story, it spill over to another sprint, but you've done some of it already. So you really only have maybe like 8 points left, but they don't repoint it. So now it's like you're taking up 13 story points, but you really have overestimated at that point in the second sprint, right? So it just causes a lot of confusion. So try to make your stories small enough to be, typically if you're using story points, I want to keep it below 13, so the maximum 8 story points. And if you are working in hours, like man hours, which is not recommended, right? You don't want to be estimating stories in hours, but some people do that. If you're keeping it within hours, you don't want to be a story over 40 hours. That's a whole week, right? For one story. So that's a lot. So guys, get the sense of how to split your stories. I have other videos where I talk about splitting your stories. I'll put them here. But in general, you're not going to know the first few stories you write for that project or for that epic. But as you're gradually improving or you're working through the epic, you're going to get a sense for what's too much and what's probably even too little. Because you don't want to be on the opposite side where it's so small that it's almost not valuable, right? So it can't be too small, but it definitely should never be too big. So you have to get that sense, that kind of instinct for how big it is. And you learn that over time. You learn that just by doing the stories, having conversations. Again, you're agile. This is why you're writing user stories. You're supposed to be talking to the team. What you guys are doing, or what a lot of people are doing, is they're doing agile because they're using the agile tool. They're using Jira or DevOps, and they think that makes them agile. But what they're doing is they're going off in their little silo, in their little box, trying to perfect a story, and then they throw it over the wall to the dev team, and the dev team in their silo trying to make sense of it. And then they may have a daily scrum where they talk, but nobody's really bringing up the real issues. Everybody's just trying to be, it's like a courtesy thing. And then you're just finding yourself having a lot of problems. That's not agile, okay? Sorry to break it to you, but that is not how you do agile. You're supposed to have a conversation. It should be very transparent, and it should be very, you guys should be having this conversation to improve. You're doing a retrospective where you're being clear about the things that didn't work so you can improve them. You're not there to, you're not there to point fingers for sure, or have fingers pointed at you, but you're talking about things openly and you're having a discussion with the team. it doesn't mean that you're doing a bad job if you're asking them how you should split your story. It doesn't mean you're less of a BA. It just means that you can't have all the answers because it's a team effort. They are good on the technical side. These are solution architects. These are developers, front end and back end, full stack, QA, right? They know what their world, right? You come up with what to do. They come up with how to do it. So they are very, very good at knowing how to do it. So they can tell you what makes sense to split where. Because maybe you split it on your own, but it doesn't make sense to them the way they're going to code it. So come to the table, bring everybody to the table, facilitate the meeting, and ask the team, where would this make sense to split? Instead of giving these huge stories that it's like, like you're building an airplane in one sprint. It's too much, okay? So think about doing that. Rally the team, split your stories, and if the first sprint goes by and you see stories spilling over, the next sprint the same thing happening, you know you have a problem. And if you have a good scrum master, they'll highlight this. And if you have very engaged team members, they'll call this out too. But you as the BA should be recognizing that and realizing, you know what, the stories are too big. We got to solve this somehow. We got to fix it. Let me work with the team to see how we can fix it. All right. So that's what I have for you guys today. Splitting your stories. I hope this was helpful. And again, check out my website, karaleise.com, and subscribe and like this video. Share the video. All right. And I will see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.